Wonder, there's an old Bob Dylan song, and he's got a line in there that says, I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. And so I'm kind of feeling that. We went to our monthly family game night, and Anna was at Anna's house, and she wanted to do one of these murder mysteries. It was going to be like at the J. Gatsby estate, and so we all had to get dressed up. And so I thought, you know what, everybody's given a character. I'm supposed to be this polo star who's got tons of money, who's very arrogant and all this stuff. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to dye my hair and my beard. And so Debbie was going to help me out. And so she's looking on Amazon, found some hair dye, that they could ship the next day. And it was real cheap. Thought it was the kind that would wash out the next day. Guess what? This is a delayed reaction. It's going to be there for a while. So I got to thinking anyway. I thought
maybe you had a mid to late life crisis.
Yeah, that's what. But Debbie goes, well, women do it all the time, and I go, hey, you're right. If the barn needs painting, you paint it. So.
Women dye their beards all the time.
So I think I'm going to have. I heard that. So I figured, hey, I remember, who Kopi Soteropoulos is? He's bald.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I remember watching him. He was bald, or very balding.
Yeah.
And suddenly one day he came on and he had a whole head of hair.
Wow.
And he stuck with it so long, nobody remembers what he was like before. So I figured, hey, if I stick with it long enough. I mean, look at Ringo Starr. The guy's 84 years old. His hair looks like mine does now.
Not the other way around.
Yeah, mine, the other way around, yeah. So anyway, so that's the story. So today I'm going to wrap up the Life Stopper series, even though there's a whole lot more verses that we could be looking at. And we're going to be looking at Philippians chapter 2, verse 13. I've noticed too, I think I've pulled out 3 or 4 from Philippians itself. That is packed with Life Stopper verses. It's the verse that says, for it is God who is at work in you, both to will and to work for his good pleasure. Now, the thing that's different about this verse from the other Life Stopper verses, pretty much all of the other Life Stopper verses focus on what we do. They're focused on how we are to live the Christian life. Just go back through them. We've got 10 verses. The first verse was from Proverbs 4. See if you guys can remember, got them all memorized. 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So who's the exhortation to? It's us. We are to guard our hearts. Then Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Again, it's my part. What am I going to do? And then in Isaiah 26:3, he says, you keep him in perfect peace. Well, that's God's part. Whose mind is stayed on you or fixed on you. Again, that's what we do. We have to fix our minds on God. Then this one was kind of an outlier, but Proverbs 16:31, I'm thinking, not literally living by that one. Gray hair is a crown of splendor. Those who find it, or those who achieve it, find it in the way of righteousness. Again, right living. So doesn't come across quite as strong in that verse. But then in Psalm 27:14, wait for the Lord. Wait for the Lord. That's again, we have to wait for the Lord. 1 Thessalonians 5:16, rejoice always. Again, we are to rejoice always. 1 Thessalonians 5:17, pray without ceasing. Again, that's what we do. And in everything give thanks. That's 1 Thessalonians 5:18. So we're to rejoice, we're to pray, we're to give thanks, things that we do. And then Philippians 2:3, do nothing out of selfish ambition or empty conceit. Again, that's our role, that's our part. And then last week we looked at the verse where Jesus tells Peter, who said, should I forgive my brother 7 times if he, Jesus says, I don't say 7 times, I say 70 times 7. You're to forgive. So yeah, we are to forgive. So you can see all these 10 Lifestopper verses there, because they're requiring a change in us. We have to be changed. We have to be able to do these things. So we come now to this verse from Philippians 2:13. For it is God who is at work. See, we were doing all the work, but it's God who is at work, both to will and to work for his good pleasure. And that puts the whole new spin on those first 10 Lifestopper verses. So those first 10 Lifestopper verses, those are like the 1%. This verse is the 99%. God's doing the 99%. We're doing the 1%. So I'll use a couple illustrations here. So I went in and had cataract surgery, right? So there was things I had to do. There was things I had to do. I had to fast. I had to get in my car. I had to drive to the doctor's office. I couldn't drive back because Debbie had to drive me. I had to pay them a lot of money. I had to receive several eye drops to prepare me for the surgery. I had to lay on a gurney for about an hour, waiting for the doctor. I had to get sedated. I had to get rolled into the surgery. And then what did I have to do while I was in there? I just had to lay there. And the doctor did all the work. And then I got rolled out to the recovery area and Deb drove me home. So in terms of the actual cataract surgery, the thing that it was all geared for, who's doing all the work? The doctor. But I had to position myself. I had to put myself in a place where he could accomplish what he wanted to do. Okay, that's the first illustration. Second one I have this week, I had to get our heater fixed on our air conditioning unit. So what did I have to do about that? Well, I had to tell the repair guys first. I need to call somebody to get them to come. I had to show them where the unit is, let them in through the gate. And then I didn't have to do anything. I just had to go back in the house, go about whatever I was doing, my business. And they climbed up on the roof. They did their thing. And in about 2 or 3 hours, they're finished. I got heat. And they leave. And the AC's working great. So what did I do? Pay. But I didn't have to do the work. I didn't fix the AC unit. They did. That's what it was all about. So I just mainly gave them access to the unit. Again, putting myself in a position to get done what needed to get done. So when you look at those first 10 Life Stopper verses, and you could add to that list many, many more, those are primarily illustrative of me giving God access to work in my life. What does that involve? That involves first admitting something's broken, something needs to get fixed. And then actually seeking God's help, asking God to help me. Now, I haven't helped myself. I mean, I'm just putting myself in a place to get the help, and then God does the work. That's what so it looks like, that I have to guard my heart. I have to rejoice always, have to pray always, have to give thanks always and everything. And all of those verses say, oh, that's so much work. I have to do all that. That's all just to position us to be able to receive what we need to get fixed, so that we can enter into this life that Jesus says, hey, in the kingdom of God, and is righteousness and peace and joy, everything that the world is very, very fervently trying to achieve. Jesus is saying, here's the way, this is the way. I am the way. No one comes to God but through me. So just doing all of those things isn't going to get you there. It isn't going to accomplish things. And people do that. It'll improve your life, but it isn't going to get you to what Jesus is offering us. That joy that's beyond comprehension, peace that surpasses all understanding, the ability to, like Jesus, to hang on a cross and for the joy set before him, endure it. That's the power. That's what we receive when we position ourselves. God is the giver and we are the receiver. I remember reading a biography of Watchman Nee just a few years after I became a Christian, and that was one of the turning points in his life when it dawned on him, it's not about me doing all this, as brilliant as the guy as he was. I'm the receiver. God's the giver. And that changed his whole approach to life, ministry. And that's what we have to reach that. Jesus says, come to me and I will give you rest. Draw near to me and I will draw near to you. That's what all those things are. That's the drawing near. That's the coming to him. Putting myself in that position to receive. That's what Life Stoppers 1 through 10 are all about. And this is the encouragement. Because if we just do those others on our own, we'll get burned out, we'll get worn out, and we'll say, what's going on, God? I'm doing everything right. And yeah, but you're missing the main point, me. So we look at that verse and break it down. It basically falls into four parts. For it is God who is at work in you. And that can be referring to me as an individual, or it can be referring to, as he's writing to the church as a corporate, like Brian says, it's the y'all kind of, but you can't really tell it that much from the language. It's you, it's kind of so it is God who is at work in you. Well, if he's going to work corporately, that means he's got to work individually, right? You can't work corporately without working in the individual parts of the corporate. So it's applicable to us as individuals. For it is God who is at work in you. So you think about that. Just think about that. It is God Stop. Who's God? Who is God? And you just start reviewing in your mind, well, let's see. God's the one that says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Take a look at the heavens and the earth. You know, I get up every morning, and it's dark now when I get up, you know, around 6. I go out, and I always want to look up in the sky to see what I can see. And I look up, and I go, especially now, I'm going like this. What's it look like? And I can see, you know, in our area, you can see the 5 or 6 stars that are shining up there, you know. There's not a whole lot of them, but it's God who put all that up there. And you know, you just look at the immensity, the complexities of creation. And who's behind all of that? God, the God who is at work in you. It says we are his workmanship, created for good works. So that's just right there. You think about that. The God who created everything, all of its complexities. Think he knows what he's doing? You think he's able to untie the knots that we get tangled up in our own life? Of course, of course. And then you think, as we look at the world and, you know, the big events, you know, we kind of define what's really big and important by, you know, what makes the headlines. And who gets to choose the headlines? Well, whoever they think's going to sell more, get more viewers. And it's like, you know, Brian posted on his page, what's going on in Sudan and Nigeria right now is horrific, but you're not hearing anything too much about it, because you know, that's not where people are at, where their interest is. But we think of that, oh, those are the big things. But what is Paul saying here? Where is God working in the world? Where is God at work in the world? In you and me and his people. That's God's focus. That's the most significant thing that is happening today and every day. It's God's work in the lives of human beings. And so that should just, the overused word, say, encourage us. But that should, you know, light our fire. That should give us so much hope to know that the creator of the universe, the one who is all wise, all powerful, all knowing, is at work. You know, work. He's just not playing a video game inside of me. He is actually working to do what? To make me more like himself, to be more loving, to be more compassionate, to be more gentle, more patient, all of those things. Just look at the fruits of the Spirit. So that's the first thing. It's God who is at work in you, both to will. Okay, when you see that phrase like that, that means both to do what he wants to do. That's what will is. To achieve his desire. So God is at work in us to accomplish what he wants to see accomplished in our lives. What did Jesus say that last night up in the upper room? He says, I tell you these things, why? So that my joy may be full in you. That's what God wants. He wants his joy to be full in us. And he says, and I give you peace, not as the world gives, do I give it to you. He wants us to be at peace. And when he would say, he shows up after his resurrection, what's the first word out of his mouth? Shalom. Peace be to you. He wants us to be at peace. That's what God wants, to accomplish his desire. to give us that same desire, his desire, the want to be kind, to want to be loving, to not see it as, through gritted teeth, but it becomes more of our default. So he's doing that, to will and to work. And there's kind of I think a twofold application there. His work in us, he's working in us so that he can work through us to reach out to others and to be his light in the world, to be his hands and feet. So he's working in us so that he can work through us. And this is the last part of the verse, for his good pleasure. For his good pleasure. What gives God the greatest joy? He says Jesus told the woman at the well, that, you don't go to this, you don't go to there to worship, you don't have to go there to worship. God is looking for those who worship him in spirit and in truth. In spirit and truth. That's what pleases God, that we are worshiping him in spirit and in truth, which means according to his nature, according to what he is like. So that's just gives God the greatest pleasure to see us becoming more like he is, more like Christ. So, think about this. The God who created the heavens and the earth, thinking in terms of size. How much of God is it going to take to work in me? How much of God is it going to take? Not much. Remember, Brett Laird gave a message, and this, sometimes you get something and you just don't forget it. And at the end of his message, he had used this illustration. He says, we are all like Dixie cups before the Pacific Ocean. How much of the ocean is it going to take to fill that little Dixie cup? Not much. How much does that Dixie cup need? Well, as much as it can hold. How much of God do I need? Well, as much as I can hold. But there's a lot of God to go around. And he is doing that in us. God is able to accomplish what he wants. Our role is to put ourselves in position to be like the Dixie cup, stick it in the surf there at the ocean, and let it get filled up. Put ourselves in the place where God can accomplish that. So that's the message.